Oh, well, football's a part of the nation, isn't it? It's just about time for our historic grand final at Optus Stadium here in Perth. Well, there's one footy fan who says he's had his dream crushed. Peter Dell has been to every AFL grand final since 1954, including last year at the Gabba, and he wanted to come to this one in Perth. Good morning to you, Peter.
Good morning, Mark. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks. You are in Warragul, Victoria. And tell
That's
us what's
correct.
happened. You've done an Eddie Maguire. You've been rejected from coming into WA.
That's exactly right. Unfortunately, 2 days ago, I got the email to say that my application to come to Perth to watch the grand final had been refused, and that's the end of that.
So, you come up with a plan B and said, I could still get there and I could quarantine for 2 weeks and I'd be okay?
Oh, there's a couple. Well, I'm still got a faint hope, depending on the Northern Territory. If I could get to Darwin sometime tomorrow, I could quarantine for 14 days and possibly fly to Perth from Darwin on the morning of the grand final. And I had another thought that was really, I wondered if I could sneak in from the other way and come in from South Africa, but I didn't think that'd work.
Maybe not. Come on, Peter. We've got to find a way of getting you here. I reckon I'd have you here before Eddie, although you're a Collingwood supporter too, aren't you?
Yes, please don't hold that against me.
Oh, the Collingwood supporter. Hey, I'm going to test you, though. You reckon 1954. You've been to every grand final since then. Can you remember, how old were you in 1954, firstly?
I was 8.
You were 8. Who was playing in that 1954 grand final?
Footscray in Melbourne, and Footscray won their first ever premiership.
Footscray's first ever grand final. Final scores, Footscray 15-12-102, defeating Melbourne 7-9-51.
There you go. You are spot on the money. You can't remember them all, surely.
Oh, I can remember a lot of them. Well, I can remember some really sad ones. In that time, Mark, I've seen Collingwood win 3 premierships, draw 2 and lose 14.
I was going to say, there's been a couple of drawn grand finals over the years. So how many all up? How many grand finals have you been to?
I've been to 69, including the 2 replays in 1977 and 2010.
Wow. 69 grand finals. This would have been your 70th. So what do you reckon?
Yes.
I mean, you're a Collingwood supporter, so what do you reckon? 2010 they came out and beat St Kilda in the replay, didn't they?
Yes.
And so what would go down as your best? What was your best grand final?
Oh, the best grand final I've seen was 1989 between Geelong and Hawthorn, when Dermot Brereton got broken ribs at the first bounce and Gary Ablett kicked 9 goals and Dippy the Menio got broken ribs. It was just an incredible game. So that, even being a Collingwood supporter, that was the best. And I was probably too young, really, in 1958 to appreciate the fact that Collingwood stopped Melbourne winning 6 in a row, because they won 3 before that, they won 2 after that, but Collingwood beat them at the MCG in 1958.
Pete, have you ever had a role in the media using this skill, this knowledge that you have? Because you've got an incredible mind for all this.
Oh, no, I'm just interested. I just think Australian rules is the greatest game ever, and I just love it. I barrack for Collingwood, but I just love football. That's why I try and go every year. And you remember certain things. I know, Mark, it wouldn't happen these days, but in 1958, the Herald Sun back in those days, just the Sun, used to produce on the day all the players and their numbers, and the AFL wanted people to buy the football record, which back then was sixpence. And so on the morning of the game, they instructed the clubs that all the players had to change their numbers so that people would have to buy the football record to see who was who. And that was 1958.
Wow. Can you tell me what you honestly thought in 1992 when the West Coast Eagles won their first grand final?
I still loved it. I thought it was great. I mean, there's a lot of people and friends that I knew that sort of didn't want these interlopers from other states to come and take away the premiership, but It was fantastic. I just loved watching that West Australian team. Was incredible to watch with Judd and Cousins and Kerr and all those guys. It was brilliant.
Sure was. Pete, thanks so much for the chat today. I'm sorry you've been rejected. You're my favourite Collingwood supporter now, so that's one thing. and if there's anything we can do to sneak you across tomorrow so you can quarantine, we'll do everything we can. And if you're watching it at home, still enjoy the grand final, won't you?
Well, it's interesting, Mark, just very quickly, that somebody said to me the other day, I'd be able to watch it on television again. I said, I've never watched it on television because 1954, when the first watched it, television didn't exist in Australia.
Incredible. Pete, you're a living treasure. Thanks for the chat.